DevOps Shorts, DevOps Shorts, the show to listen to when your DevOps hurts. And even when you're going strong, it's short and sweet, so come along. Hello folks, and welcome to another episode of DevOps Shorts, the show where we invite wonderful human beings to have a lightning-fast talk about devs, ops, and other mythical creatures. The show where each episode only lasts 15 minutes and we only ask 3 questions. So it's short and sweet. Why? Well, because if there's one thing we know, it's that great delivery comes in small batches. And today I'm more than happy to host Ohad Maislish, who is a geek and a chess player, and currently the CEO and co-founder of a startup called ENV0, right? Which provides self-service cloud environments and makes them easy for every team out there. And I'm very happy to have you because ENV0 is actually one of my favorite Israeli startups. So a lot of fun. How are you today, Ohad?
I'm great. We're in quarantine, so all in all, kids at home, but trying to make the best out of it.
Wonderful. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive straight into our 3 questions. And the first question is about loving what you do, loving IT. On your LinkedIn profile, I noticed that you say that you started working at Microsoft as early as when you were 17 years old, right? So you probably loved working in IT back then, and you're still there. So there's probably some love there. So tell me, why do you love working in IT? Go.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, I started early. I was probably still am a geek, and started programming at a young age. Actually, started university at the age of 14, and then I had the opportunity to work at Microsoft at the age of 17 before my military service. I, by the way, talked with the head of recruiting at Microsoft just the other week, and I asked her if I still hold the record of the youngest Israeli developer at Microsoft, and she told me that at least for the last 5 years, and that's correct. And that was like 21 years ago, back in '99. I'm now 38 years old, and as you can understand, my background is technical, and I was always amazed how IT changes the world. Our kids are going to live in a different place than we're used to, and their kids, I have no idea what's going to be their world. And I think one of the most wonderful things to see nowadays is especially the companies that help with tech in the medical aspect. There are, by the way, some great companies out there, and the fact that a human being, a doctor, is limited, but if you can help those with the artificial intelligence, some great technologies, you actually saves lives. And now with Corona, it only becomes even greater. So I'm not an expert in health and medcare, but I'm, always my background is about infrastructure companies, DevOps cloud, and we empower those companies and those developers to build great products. And I always look at, developing a product like a car. You can step on the gas and you can shift to the next gear. So developing more features, it's about, stepping on the gas. But if you step too much on the gas and you're still on the first or second gear, the engine explodes and it starts smoke. So I really like helping companies to shift to the next gears. What does it take for you to be more efficient, to have better quality, to scale, and just to beat your competition? And all of the products, all of what I do, that's where we focus.
Okay, so helping great companies build great software. Could you put it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Change the world, and in so many ways. Like closing the gaps of education and knowledge. Now the information is everywhere, and everybody with a small computer, a small laptop. It's so powerful now that you can do so many things and get a lot of knowledge and basically create a lot of things by yourself. So if we can empower and change the world accordingly, that makes me happy.
Wonderful. Okay, so this was 3 minutes, and we still have 1 minute left. So more time for the blitz questions in the end. Wonderful. Let's go straight to our next question. And that question is about DevOps. This show is called DevOps Shorts, after all. So, in DevOps Handbook, the authors talk about the DevOps aha moment, that moment when they realized that the way things currently work in IT suck, but there's a better way. And that way is DevOps. So, what was that moment for you? You're a co-founder of a DevOps tooling startup, so you do have a long history with DevOps, from what I understand. When did this history start?
Wow. So if it's all right with you, I'll say a few aha moments, and each one is very significant. So I think the first one was 18 years ago when I first saw VMware. Okay, I had a laptop with running Windows, and then for the first time, somebody presented me the product of VMware, or VMware Player, or Workstation, and I ran Linux OS on top of Windows by clicking a button that looks like a play. And it was, for me, I understood it's not just about running Linux on Windows. It's like completely going to change the world. The fact that you have like another layer of virtualization. And so that was the first aha moment for me. And actually, a few years later, I was lucky enough to work in an Israeli company that was the first acquisition of VMware. So small world. And then when we got acquired by VMware, to be close to the infrastructure products of VMware, talking about 13 years ago in 2007, and I saw the first time I saw vMotion. For those of you who don't understand what's vMotion, basically to take one virtual machine from one physical host to another physical host with zero downtime. It takes like less than a second, and without the user even understanding, you run the same machine on different hardware. So, until then, if you needed to upgrade the memory or hardware of your physical server, you needed to create downtime for your customers. But then you just create a cluster. For the first time, there was the term cluster of more than one host, and you shift one to the other. So that was another aha moment of, okay, now no need for downtime, no need to let your customers know 3 months ahead that there's going to be a planned downtime, nothing like that. So vMotion, I think it's another game changer. And then again, working at Microsoft, they acquired a company named SpringSource. And it was very innovative in Java and cloud. And I remember I worked on Java code, and then there was a button in my IDE, deploy to the cloud. So I had my code, I clicked the button, and it sent me like a URL that runs my code. My friends, even if my laptop is closed, and I just click a button, and then I said, where is it running? What's going on? It was way before AWS and EC2 instances. That was a first acquisition of VMware in that area. And a few years later, I had another great opportunity working at another innovative cloud company named Ravelo Systems that got acquired by Oracle. And that was like 7 years ago in 2013, 14, when I saw how you can move one VM from AWS to another cloud to Google. Okay, so again with zero downtime, and then you understood that everything is totally virtual. So all those aha moments, it's like in the last 15 or 20 years, it's amazing how things have changed and where they evolve, and each one of those really changes the way that the cloud works, the operation works, the service that customers get, and everything becomes much more efficient and managed and basically magical. Nowadays, developers, it's totally different when the days, I wrote code in assembler. I don't know if developers now know what assembler and what it's used for, but eventually things run in assembler. But I remember I needed, there was no Google, no Stack Overflow. I got a book, okay, in MS-DOS.
And we hit the gong. So you started out with a book. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, we've hit the gong on this one, and we'll go straight to the next question. And the question is concerned with the future. So here's your chance to say what you think the future will bring to DevOps, to the IT industry in general, to the whole of our crazy world. Go wild. Anything goes. Be very brave about your predictions. We know they will be wrong.
Probably. Actually, I'm not sure because I'm not going to estimate what's going to happen 20 or 30 years from now. But I have a good feeling that we know what's going to happen in the next decade. So if you look 2 decades ago, there was what we call the first data center revolution, which was virtualization. Like I talked with VMware, you know, you again, no downtime, and you manage something virtual on top of physical servers. Obviously, the next one is cloud. So you no longer purchase physical servers and purchase some virtualization layer on top of that, but you instead have a credit card and you pay for some vendor like AWS, Azure, and others, and you get those cloud resources by clicking some buttons. And I remember, 15 years ago, in order to be in IT, a professional in IT, there was an advantage if you knew about electricity, if you knew about air conditioners, because that's what you needed to take care in the server's room that nobody has nowadays. So that was the second revolution of obviously the public cloud, that people started clicking buttons in order to provision cloud resources. But it looks like nobody will continue to click those buttons anymore. There is a huge shift to infrastructure as code, like Terraform by HashiCorp, Pulumi, and CloudFormation for AWS, ARM for Azure. So all in all, it shifts to code, writing, maintaining, and executing code in order to provision and update cloud resources. And with that shift, it's a huge shift left for developers that can influence even more about the infrastructure decisions in their company. And all in all, today, when you talk with your friends, and maybe they might say to you, we still have a couple of physical servers being managed in our company. You say, whoa, that's weird. How come you still have those two physical servers? What do they do? Why you don't replace that? So it looks like, I think in 7, 8, 10 years, there's going to be the same discussion, but people will tell you, we still have like 3 VMs or 2 RDS or 1 Kubernetes cluster that we clicked in order to provision, because everything else we just executed is Terraform or Pulumi or any other framework of infrastructure as code. So from wiring, those cables, to setting the electricity, to actually developing code that creates all those cloud resources and those their configuration. That's, I think, the next big thing that we started to experience. And that's what M0 is all about, because it's like the difference between Git and GitHub. So nowadays there is a great technical solution to provision and update those cloud resources, such as Terraform and CloudFormation, but there is no management layer, a business solution for companies in order to actually solve their collaborations, integrations, budget limits, everything they need in order to really manage the new way of cloud. And our focus is about using this great technology to empower developers, because now with self-service cloud environments, developers can do much more, be more efficient, be less dependent in opening tickets and waiting for cloud resources to be provisioned. They can just do it themselves with smart and governance and guardrails, thanks to the fact that it's based on code. So all in all, my answer is the world is shifting to infrastructure as code, to Terraform and other great frameworks.
Okay, so more code and more codified infrastructure. That's the future.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so yeah, we have 10 more seconds for this question and half a minute for the show, half a minute for the blitz questions. So let's go. Okay, this being you, let's start with this. Terraform or Pulumi?
Terraform, better ecosystem, safer bet.
Okay, if I ask you if I should invest in cryptocurrency, what would you say, yes or no?
I'm not the person to ask, I have no idea.
Okay, what's the most exciting technology outside of IT?
Outside of IT?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask, but I think electric cars, and taxi, the fact that we're going to be in
Wonderful
autonomous
electric
cars.
cars, and our time is over. I was so happy to have you. Thanks. That was interesting. That was very focused on infrastructure as code in whatever you know best and you do best. Love
Try.
hearing your stories. Thanks, Ohad.
Thank you very much, Anton. Thank you for having me.
Short and sweet. Thank you for listening and watch out for new episodes of DevOps Shorts.